Greetings once again to your friends. My name is Pastor Edward Madzorera, and I'm glad to be with you here on this platform where we are sharing insights into certain portions of the last 6 verses of the 11th chapter of the book of Daniel. In our previous episode, we had managed to identify the king of the south as an atheistic power, which was France, and we had also made reference to the king of the north as the papal power or Catholicism. Today we will be zooming in on verse 43. I'll read in your hearing here, Daniel 11 verse 43, it says, "But ye shall have power over the treasures of gold and silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt." That's the first part of the 43rd verse. And we are just going to look at how the king of the north will have power over the global treasures and of gold and silver. And like I mentioned in the previous episode, this can only happen after the king of the north, which is the papal power, would have responded to the provocative act by the king of the south, which we identified as atheistic France. How would the papacy manage to achieve such a feat? How would she control the global economy? It is now well documented history that for that to happen, she must first have control over America. And the Bible has it on record when you are reading, that's the 41st verse of that very same chapter that we are looking at. We are told that she must enter into the glorious land, which means she must control a certain area, which the Bible refers to as the glorious land. The word here translated as glorious, it's in Hebrew, tsebe. Tsebe means beautiful, goodly, pleasant. So for the king of the north or the papacy to be able to react against the provocative act by atheism, and also for her to be able to control the global economy, she must enter the goodly land. She must enter the beautiful land. She must enter the goodly land. You'll discover that the very same word that is here translated as goodly land, the glorious land, is also the same word or the same root of the word that is used in Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 22, where Moses in his last address to the children of Israel before they crossed over into Canaan, he said to them, "I will not cross over with you into the goodly land. You will go, but I will remain." And the very same word that Moses uses, which is translated goodly land, is tebe, which means pleasant, rich, prosperous, excellent. So it's the same root of tsebe and tebe, which means goodly, pleasant. So when we are looking at this statement in Daniel 11 at a macrocosmic level, you'll discover that God is simply saying the king of the north, which is the papacy, must control the goodly land. And what is this goodly land? For us to understand what the goodly land is, we need first to understand the literal and primary goodly land, which was the land of Canaan. And Moses says, we are told that this is the land, number one, which the children of God would find a haven of rest in from captivity. Number two, it was a land which flowed with milk and honey. It was a rich land. Number three, it was a land where they would worship God freely, because Moses said to Pharaoh, "Let them go so that they can worship me." So when the people of God are said to be moving into a goodly land, they are moving into a land, number one, where they can find a rest from persecution. Number two, it's a land which is rich economically. Number three, it's a land wherein they can worship God freely. So in the last days, since we are referring to Daniel 11 verse 40 as the end time marker, we know that in the last days there should come up another place, another good land, wherein the people of God who are fleeing persecution in Europe must, number one, be able to find rest. Number two, they must be able to worship God freely. And number three, it must be a land which is rich economically. So the papacy, the king of the north, must control such a land. And I think by now we have all guessed that there is no other land There is no other nation that can match such qualities except the land of America. It is the land wherein the pilgrims had to find rest from persecution. It is a land where they established a kingdom of freedom. It is a land which even up to this day, the major currencies of the world are measured against their currency. So it's a land which is rich economically. It's a land where God is worshipped freely. Freedom of conscience is upheld. It's a land where the people of God that were being persecuted found rest. It was a haven of rest for them. So the papacy must control America for her to be able to hit against the king of the south, which is atheism. And history has it on record that indeed in the late 1980s, the Pope and Ronald Reagan connived to bring down or to topple socialism. The USSR came down, it fell in 1989. By December 1989, it was gone after America had connived with the Pope to bring down socialism and communism, which is also atheism, because their main proponent idea is that they are anti-religion. They are the ones that actually coined the term religion is the opium of the masses. So communism at its best is anti-religion. So we are being told here by the Bible that communism would go, and when communism has gone, then the king of the north would have been able to establish herself as the sole remaining power to impose her thoughts. But we may want to ask, how would she impose her thoughts? Because she would then control the treasures of gold and of silver, which means the very basis of the global economy will be under the control of the papal power. And that old adage which says, he who pays the piper calls for the tune will here come into play, because they are the ones that have the economy in their hands. Any other nation that would want a handout, that would want some help economically, will definitely have to dance to their tune. That is how we are going to see the papal power rising to prominence again in the last days and imposing a religious dogmas which actually are against the biblical truths. For now, my dear friends, we'll want to end here. Let's meet again in the next episode. Otherwise, it's goodbye and God bless.